So we sort of wrap up this particular Jacksonian era. But we're now emerging into the first two-party system that we've seen in a while. Remember, the era of good feeling just had one party. So sort of 1800, we start the Federalists, and then we end the Federalists, sorry. And then we're going no more Federalists, 1804, 1808, 1812, 1816, 1820, 1824, and then 1828, finally, we have National Republicans versus the Democrats, and then the National Republicans sort of recede, and by 1840, we have two legitimately strong parties. The Democrats are the common man's party, true to Jefferson, going all the way back, small government, farmer, your lower classes, namely West and the South, okay? Your Whigs, who are your former Federalists and soon to be Republicans, okay, want a stronger federal government. Again, they want all of the internal improvements in the tariff and the banking. They tend to be from the wealthier classes, okay, and centralized in the East Coast. So, we've got those conditions. But we've got to pay attention to the entire time in the South. Cotton has been growing. Thank you, Eli Whitney, okay? So, as a result, we've got booming cotton production in the South, which is very, very important to the North because they're the ones who actually turn this cotton into anything usable at all. And with this demand for cotton, you're going to see a push that is going to go out of sort of the old South into the new South, what we call the Cotton Belt. Very, very important because as you push west, you're also coinciding with a key idea that we call manifest destiny, okay? And we'll get to that in a second. Because cotton is so land intensive, it needs labor, you're going to need to bring in more and more slaves. At this point, we're not bringing any more slaves from out of the country. It's all an internal slave trade, okay? And we've got, I think, we may have dealt with slavery in past lectures. We're not necessarily going to deal with it in this lecture, except to know that that is an issue that's obviously dividing the North and the South. So any acquisitions in the South are seen as pro-slavery, thereby aggrieving the Northerners. And that's going to be something that is going to contribute to disunion. Okay? So, you can watch the Cotton Kingdom sort of extend all the way down here into Texas. Now, America heads west. John O'Sullivan famously said, manifest destiny. This goes back in many ways to John Winthrop's City on a Hill. We are a people predestined for greatness. It does not matter who is in the way, i.e. Indians, okay, Native Americans. It does not matter because if in fact we come into contact with them, how are we making them better?
Moving them away.
Well, we're either moving them away so we create less tension, but guys, what are we bringing to them? Christianity and civilization, of course. They're better because of us. So it's a win-win. We're moving west and they're getting better. All right, so the key idea that you want to think about is it's not just people that are doing this because of manifest destiny. There's actually people that are benefiting from it with trapping and trading, mountain men who glorious, glorious beards, okay? Missionaries who are going to be heading particularly to Oregon, and that's how it's pronounced, okay? Farmers who are moving west, and people who are going west because of the gold rush that starts in what year? 48. Okay, starts in 48, and then, of course, 49 is when the big rush is. Thank you. It all comes back to my team. Okay, so effects of this westward migration. You get a president in 1844. James K. Polk, only president who has a mullet. All right, and James K. Polk is the highest ranked forgotten president. And what I mean by that is no one can name him, no one can name what he did, but he got everything he set out to get. So he said, first and foremost, I'm going to get Oregon. And he said, we're going to go all the way up to 5440 and we're going to fight. And then when it came time, he realized that 54-40 fight might be a little bit strong, and maybe it's not worth fighting the British over. So he settled on 49th will be fine. Okay, and that's where our current boundary is. So we get Oregon, which we had technically co-controlled with the British since the Anglo-American Treaty of 1818. So he gets Oregon. Let's skip this slide. Now, he also wants Texas. But he doesn't have to do anything to get Texas, because as John Tyler is heading out, Democrats don't like me, Whigs don't like me, I'm finally going to do something, okay? Through a joint resolution, sort of a sneaky trick, he gets Texas. So Texas was on its own from 36, essentially through early 45. There you go. You got Texas. So now he's going to have Texas without doing anything. He's going to get Oregon rather easily, okay? And the reason that John Tyler did this is there are plenty of people who believe in manifest destiny, okay? It is our destiny to take over Texas. These guys are our kindred spirits. They fought a revolution, And of course, you've got plenty of Southerners who want slavery. On the flip side, you say, we're going to have to deal with the Texas debt, okay? We don't want slavery. And you know what? We've never actually admitted an independent nation before. We've taken land in the Louisiana Purchase, but we've never admitted a nation. Now, obviously, the proponents are going to win with John Tyler, okay? I'm going to skip this real fast. I already said that, okay? Texas becomes a state in 1845. So, you've got Polk said, I want Oregon, got it. I want Texas, got it. But the crown jewel, as you all know, and you should know forever and ever, is California, okay? And so, in order to get California, there's going to be negotiations with Mexico. But Mexico's pissed off because Mexico still sees Texas as a colony in revolt. They refuse to believe that Texas is not theirs anymore, okay? So, you're going to have Polk send a man named Slidell, John Slidell, down to Mexico, and he's going to try to negotiate to get California, but since the Mexicans are so pissed off about us taking Texas, they're not going to meet with us, much like we had in the XYZ affair, which will lead to the Alien Incision Act, which will lead to Virginia and Kentucky resolutions, which will help us in the notification crisis. There we go. Okay, so Slidell goes there, and nothing happens. Now, this is where James K. Polk pulls a Gulf of Tonkin. He pulls USS Maine. He wants a war. Guys, go to the disputed area between the Nueces River, okay, and the Rio Grande and get yourself shot at. Wait there. Get yourself shot at. We need a war. For months. Please, someone, just shoot us. All right, and no one will shoot us. So James K. Polk is like, man, I can't even manufacture a war. This is pathetic. So he actually is prepared to have Congress declare war on Mexico for a number of sort of financial grievances. Thankfully, we got shot at. And we rejoice because we now have a pretense to go to war. Except for old Abraham Lincoln, who gets elected as a Whig from Illinois and says, show me that spot. I don't believe that, in fact, this was American land that he was shot at. Remember, there's this disputed land between what the boundary is, Nueces River and the Rio Grande. So we get in the war. There are people in the North who do not support this war, like Henry David Thoreau, like the Whigs who say this is nothing but a slaveocracy. We're fighting this just to get land for the Southerners. In addition, you've got the Whigs, who are known as the conscience Whigs, as opposed to the cotton Whigs. So you're seeing the Whigs pull apart, and they're saying, we don't want to support this war. At one point, they even threatened to not pay for weapons. But in the end, you have two men that sort of come out of this as the heroes. You have Zachary Taylor, old Rough and Ready, okay? And then you have Winfield Scott, old Fuss and Feathers, okay? Two great names, and we win at Buena Vista with Taylor, and we're going to win at Mexico City with Winfield Scott, and actually Winfield Scott is considered sort of the hero of the war. And at the end of the war, you have the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. What a treaty. Now, if you have seen the bit on Fallon, you will know that the Gadsden Purchase is really more important, okay, than the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. But, guys, you cannot underestimate the importance of this Mexican cession. I know at the end of the day it doesn't seem terribly sexy, but for this $15 million plus an additional 3 and change, for $18 million, you get California. You officially get Texas, even though we already had Texas, so that's a little funky. New Mexico, Utah, parts of California, Arizona, Nevada. This is going to be the area that is going to give rise, of course, to the question of admitting California as a state in 1850. And once you have the Compromise of 1850, you have a clock that is counting down to war from 1850 to 1860. So this is the necessary precondition to have questions over how are we going to deal with this land? Is it going to be slave or not? Okay? So the question is, what do we do with this area? I got an idea. During the war, Daniel Wilmot, I believe, proposed a Wilmot Proviso. Never passed. But what it said was, if we get this land, it cannot have slaves in it. So what he was saying is, we can win. Go ahead. You got your war. But the spoils of victory will not be benefiting slavers. And so it never passes. Of course, it's going to pass in the House, where the Northerners predominate because of population, but never in the Senate, where it's even at that particular time. Also, of course, you're going to have Zachary Taylor come out as a hero. He is going to be elected in 1848, the second Whig president, and like the Whig president before him, he will die, giving way to Millard Fillmore and his moon face, okay? And this war is a proving ground for important folks that we will see in the Civil War, both on the Northern Union side and on the Southern Confederate side. We're going to lose a number of soldiers to death, but really not that many to actually wartime casualties. And remember, we have now beaten the British in the Revolution, tied the British in the War of 1812, and we beat a pretty sad Mexico here. And then we're going to beat an even sadder Spain, okay? So we've got a really illustrious military history that we got going on. One real victory, one tie, one win with an asterisk, and then another win with like 3 asterisks, and a smiley face down, like I can't believe that happened. Okay. So that, my friends, is my lecture. I'm sorry for taking longer than I wanted. I do have some... I'm done. Thank you.